Skyblock YouTubers make progression guides entirely wrong. I mean, even I did when I showed off EndNote mining. I was using a max setup. So I'm going to be doing this one right, by using a brand new level 0 profile to show you progression through the entire game. This is going to be a series, not a single video, but I'll be making progression guides as often as I can. So without further ado, let's begin. I began by running behind the hub portal to grab the rogue sword from Jamie for the extra 100 speed. Then jumped into the present hell in hub 1 for some skill XP and coins. After around 10 minutes of doing that, I had a little over 200,000 coins. So then I did a bit of farming, a little bit of mining, then reforged a set of armor I'd bought from Rosetta a moment earlier. Then proceeded to try and flip a griffin pet that, to this day, hasn't sold. And then I jumped into the present hell again, until I had about 700k. Using this, I bought a tree capitator and started foraging. Now, I guess I should probably explain what we're doing. I'm currently trying to get Skyblock level 7 to get access to the Bazaar, which is a pretty necessary NPC throughout the entire game. Now, there's no one right way to do this, and I'm personally going along foraging, as it has a pretty decent questline and a lot of collections, with a really cheap entry cost. Now back to the video. So, I then continued to forage while moving through all of the part quests, and building up my collection to get as much XP as possible, until I got to Galatea. Here I did the tutorial until I reached level 5. My next source of XP was going to be pets, but my internet hated me and I just couldn't use the bot, so I opted to guess every cheapest pet. Yeah, I think I spent more coins than I needed to. But doing this got me up to level 6, so I guess it was worth the 1.2 million coins. I then started foraging again to make use of the taming skill, which I should have been doing from the start, but I forgot about. After that, I went to the deep caverns, because I wanted to get Redstone Collection 2 in order to get access to the accessory bag, which would let me get even more experience, because every accessory put inside of it gives you experience depending on its rarity. I then did a tiny bit more farming for the wheat collection, and finally reached level 7, granting me access to the Bazaar. Alright, time to make coins. I started by going to the builders and buying packed ice, and dandelions, then reselling them to the Bazaar for a higher price. I then started experimenting to figure out what item I could buy and then sell back to the NPCs for more money. But I ended up realizing that this isn't actually worth it and you should just go straight to Bazaar flipping, which I also experimented with for a bit. And I personally came upon wheat, which fills pretty quickly and makes a lot more money than you think it will. Now, what is Bazaar flipping? It's a rather simple concept where you create a buy order for an item and then once it's filled, create a sell offer and sell it for a higher price. This works best in bulk orders with items that fill pretty quickly, meaning they have high demand. And while Bazaar flipping rarely makes all that much money, it's actually pretty good for early game. Now, we're gonna take a break in flipping for a little bit, while I explain some other key parts of the game. First is going to be minions. You may have noticed, but on your island you already have one of these, though it's kinda useless. Minions are used for a numerous of things, but the main ones are money and collection. Collection can be annoying at times, so this lets you automate that. While it is slow, it also works while you're offline, meaning you don't have to worry about those things. Second is money, though because it is a passive income source, it's not the greatest, even at high levels. When crafting a minion, you must have its first level of collection, and then 80 of the material, plus a wooden variant of tool for whatever type of minion it is. For this example, we're going to be using a coal minion, meaning I need 80 coal and a wooden pickaxe. It's crafted like this, and can also be upgraded up to tier 11. Well, technically higher, but that's not important right now. In addition, you have a limited number of minion slots. The starting amount is 5, if I'm not mistaken, but you get more either through profile upgrades in Elizabeth, or the main way, which is crafting unique minions. Now, the next thing I'll explain is accessories, as they're an important permanent upgrade, and will make or break your profile. To start, accessories, or talismans, each have their own minor buff that will only take effect when in your inventory or accessory bag, which is unlocked at Redstone Collection 2. These alone are pretty decent buffs when you have a lot, but their true value comes from when you select the correct Power Stone. Power Stones are essentially modes that you put your accessories in to supply large amounts of stats depending on your selection. You only have a couple to start, but you can buy 9 of a Power Stone from the Bazaar and craft them into more powers, the strength of which is dependent on the magical power, which I'll get into soon. Another thing you gain is tuning points, which are pretty much just skill points that let you strengthen your choice of stats without relying entirely on power stones. You gain more tuning points by getting more magical power, which segues us into the next part of this, and possibly the most important, magical power. Magic power, also known as MP, is sort of like a grading system for your accessories. Each rarity of accessory gives you a set amount of magical power, and as magical power gives you both tuning points and makes your power stones better, it's extremely important. Here's the rarities and rewarding magical power on the screen. Now, don't skip out on things like common and uncommon, as their small numbers add up quickly. If you want to find out what the cheapest talismans for your profile are, you can join my Discord in the description and use the Sky Helper bot there to let it tell you. Next is what the wiki calls an accessory line. Many accessories have multiple tiers, typically going from talisman to ring to artifact, with a few exceptions that go higher. When calculating magical power, only the highest tier in the line is tracked, so don't keep the accessories that fall back in the order, as it just takes up unnecessary space. The last part of this is going to be recombobulating and enrichments, but I'll go over these briefly as they both cost a ton of money and are quite late game. Recombobulating, aka recombing, uses the Recombobulator 3000 item to upgrade the rarity of any accessory by 1. Mind you, this also works on any other item. Though, because a recomb costs nearly 8 mil as of the time of recording, this is more expensive than it's worth for a very long time. Lastly is enrichments. There is a very wide assortment of these, but their buffs are minimal, especially for the 5 mil price tag per enrichment. They can only be applied to legendary accessories, and will only be useful to you far in the future.
Oh yeah, and this entire time I've still been flipping. I have a lot of goblin eggs.
Our next topic is pets. If I were to quote the wiki, pets are summonable companions that grant bonus stats and or one or more passive beneficial effects. They can also be leveled with a maximum level of 100, except for the occasional very expensive and very rare level 200s. You can get pets from crafting or as a rare drop from a mob, and some can be bought through things like the Dark Auction, though most people will probably just buy them off the auction house. If you were to drop one from a mob, pet drop chances are affected by Magic Find and Pet Luck. All crafted pets start at common, but can be upgraded using their upgrade materials at Cat, who is an NPC if you didn't get the memo. You can find all the crafting recipes for your unlocked pets in your collection menu. The next bit is pet score, which is really simple. You can pretty much break it down into you get pets, you get pet score. The rarer the pets, the more pet score you get. You also get +1 pet score for every level 100 you have. The only thing pet score does is give you Magic Find, which is actually an extremely important stat, so it's worth building up. But right now you don't have to push it that hard. Yet another item is pet candy. There are multiple tiers to this, and by feeding them to a pet, they gain a lot of experience. Though I should also warn you that putting pet candy onto a pet typically lowers its value. But if you're planning to use it for personal use only and just like never sell it, it can be really helpful. Now for a few NPCs. They're typically not very useful, and I don't actually really use any of them, but I might as well quickly go over them. The first I'm going to bring up is Fan. He basically just levels your pets for you, but it costs a lot of money, so it's not the greatest use of your coins. Then there's Zog, who is an NPC you can find beside Cat, and he just sells a bunch of XP boosts, which is helpful, I guess, sometimes. And there's also George, who lets you raise your maximum taming skill by giving him a ton of pets. I've never actually used George before. I also should probably quickly explain taming. It's basically just another one of the common skills, and it gets leveled by gaining any other skill XP while having a pet equipped. Pretty much all it does is give you pet luck and pet XP, but I mean, the Skyblock XP is useful. It's also very helpful if you're playing on an Iron Man account. And to finish off pets, there are pet types, which I can go over quickly as well. Every pet has a skill that it belongs to, and it gains more more XP when it's leveled off of that type of skill. Though, you don't really need to focus on this, it's really just if you're collecting a lot of minions, but for now you can pretty much leave it alone. Now, I've done my flipping and earned quite a few coins. This took me a few hours to get, though to be fair, I've been flipping goblin eggs, which sells really slowly, but I guess makes a good profit. So, to use the last couple minutes here, I'm going to explain some really important items that you'll continue using throughout the rest of the game. First is going to be the Grandma Wolf pet. It gives you access to combos, which is pretty much when you just kill a certain amount of enemies in quick succession, you get stat bonuses. This is helpful only for the magic find, but because the pet doesn't have to be equipped, you might as well get it anyway. Next is the Aspect of the End, or Aspect of the Void, but there's no point in dropping millions upon millions of coins on one of these right now. And the Aspect of the End works perfectly fine throughout literally the entire game. Essentially, you can spend mana to teleport, and it's amazing for any sort of movement throughout any content of the game, and it's really cheap. What I do recommend getting on here is Ultimate Wise 5, though that can come a little bit later because it does cost around 2 million coins, and giving it the Heroic Reforge, as it's going to give you a lot of intelligence. The next item is a God Potion. This is used literally through the entire game, and it basically just gives you the max level of every single effect. Next is Equipment, but right now you can pretty much just put on whatever you get. You can also just reforge all of these to Menacing. And for the last thing I'm going to cover is Elizabeth upgrades. In the community center, you are able to find Elizabeth, who is an NPC who gives you access to things like fire sales, bits shop, booster cookies, and most importantly, accountant profile upgrades. In here you can upgrade pretty much everything, such as your magic find, co-op slots, minion slots, wardrobe slots, etc. And I suggest you get pretty much anything here you can without having to spend gems. She's also going to give you a free booster cookie, which I suggest you eat immediately because it lets you keep your coins on death, and gives you access to the bits shop, which is where you can buy items that sell for quite a lot, and even things like god potions, which are very helpful, as previously stated. I suggest you start off with things like the minion slots and accessory bag upgrades. And that brings us to the end of this episode. I'd like to continue doing this series, so if you subscribed, that would help me out a ton. And the next episodes won't be this messy. The only reason this one is because at the start of Skyblock, there is a lot to do. So thank you for watching, and I hope that this helped you. I'll see you in about a week or so.